Hareshu minei behema harbe mimin korban echad. Okay, this case, person has in front of him types of animals, but one type of korban. Okay, they're all burnt offerings. Okay, all burnt offerings. You can make a burnt offering as long as it's male. You can make it a bull, a ram, a lamb, a goat, whatever it might be. Okay,
Even a pigeon can go on.
a pigeon can be burnt offering also,
But that's
or a
normally
turtle
for, like,
dove.
the poor person, right?
Well, but sometimes the Torah demands it. Okay, the Torah demands that the woman who gave birth brings a pair of birds. One as a burnt offering, one as a sin offering.
Right.
Okay? And sometimes there's people bring the rich person says, "I'm going to bring this burnt offering, a whole bull." That's pretty expensive. A ram is next in size, and then you get a lamb. Lambs are obviously they're much smaller, same species but smaller. A goat can be fully grown. A full-grown male goat is much smaller than a ram. Okay? It's considered still like a lamb. Okay? And normally goats are sin offerings. Okay. Either way, haparim kudmim la'ilim shekeni rabu manasachim. We said this last week also. The bulls come before the rams because the rams have more libations. Elim kudmim lakvasim. The rams come before the lambs because they also have more libations than them.
So whatever has more libations comes first.
Yeah, they have more. So what we say libations, a bull has libations, 3 esrogim of flour, half a hin of wine and oil each. Half a hin is quite a lot of wine and oil, a few bottles. And the ram, like we said last week, the ram comes with 2 esrogim of flour, not 3, and a third of a hin of wine and oil each. And the lamb comes with 1 isaron and just a quarter of a hin of the liquids. The ratios don't work out, by the way. It's not the same ratios. This one, if you look at the math, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And the kvasim come before goats, because the goats have the same nisachim. Shekenit rabu be'emurim, but there's more emurim of the lamb. If you bring 1 lamb burnt offering and 1 goat burnt offering, they would have the same amount of libations, but technically more of the lamb goes on the altar. Why? Forbidden fat. Just put the chalev. No. The fat tail. Okay? The lambs have the tail that's very fatty. That also gets burned on the altar. A goat tail is not significant. It's not considered forbidden fat. It's not burned on the altar. So the goat loses.
Because it has more to it.
No, because the lamb has more.
The lamb has more to
it. The lamb and goat have equal amounts of libations, but the goat has a little bit more. The lamb has a little bit more of its fat that's actually burning. Yeah. Omer kodem lakfeves haba imo. The omer, that's the grain offering, the barley offering on the second day of Passover. That's when Sfiras Omer starts. They go and reap the omer in a special ceremony on Erev Pesach. On the second night of Pesach, right? That's all they. The sunset, ready. We reap the omer, and then in the morning they prepare the omer and it's brought in the temple, and that's what allows the new crop to be eaten, right? So you have to bring with the omer. There's also some animal sacrifice brought with it. Aside from the musaf of Passover, every day of Passover, there's 7 lambs and 2 bulls and a ram and a he-goat for a sin offering, because it's called moed. They also bring a lamb with this, just a separate korban. Okay? But the day of the Shavuos, when there's 2 lambs brought with the 2 heave breads, these special breads brought on Shavuos, it's called bikurim for some reason. In that case, the lechem comes first. See that?
Yeah.
The omer comes before its lamb, and the shtei lechem come before the 2 lambs. Zaklal, davar haba biglal hayom, kodem davar haba biglal lechem. Something which comes because of the day, that's the omer or the shtei lechem.
That takes precedence
over, yes, that which comes with that bread. By the way, the omer is technically bread.
The reason that he has to clarify this is because we would have thought that the
animals go first.
Animals come all the time.
Because behemoths go before menachos.
Yeah.
Normally the rule is animals come before meal offerings. These are 2 meal offerings. So kamash malan, that these are the ones specifically for the day. If there were other meal offerings, doesn't matter how large or how elaborate, they would
come after.
Yeah. And in these cases, by the way, it's talking about public offerings. I would assume that in Beis Hamikdash they first do that's what the public has to do, like the Temidin and the UMusafin and everything, before they start taking in individuals. Okay, but you're talking about what the Kohanim know what to do. How do you know what to do? For example, on Yom Kippur, there's very specific. There's certain sacrifices that have a very very elaborate ritual that's unusual, among others. So, what are the ones that have a special elaborate ceremony? The Kohen Gadol has a bull that comes from his own cash. He has to confess on it all his own sins, and then all the Kohanim sins. And then that bull is slaughtered, and the blood is sprinkled in a very unique way in the Holy of Holies and on the Paroches, and it's applied to the golden altar. And same thing like the two goats, the twin goats as they call them. One is thrown off a cliff after the confession, and the other is also a special sin offering, and its blood is processed the same way as this bull. But then there's the ram of the people and the 7 lambs of the Musaf, right? Those are done like any other Ola, any other day. So those are basically done. The 7 lambs of the Musaf and the regular bull of the Musaf is done on Yom Kippur, first thing. Kohen Gadol does 2 Temidin, right? Because it's, the Tamid of the morning, 1 lamb. And then he does the Musaf things that are not special, the bull and the 7 lambs. And the rams will come later. They'll do around later in the day. But they don't have an elaborate ceremony. But the ones that have an elaborate ceremony are actually have their own specific order in this thing. Well, why do we say that? Why should the lambs of the Yom Kippur Musaf take precedence over, let's say, the Siri or Azazel? Okay, the 2 goats or the special bull. Why does this bull come first? Why? So there you have, it's apparently a tradition that the sages had, that you have all these animals. The ones with the elaborate ceremony are going to be held for a little bit later, for whatever reason.
Meaning, because they want to show the progression of the day? Yeah,
but also because the Kohen Gadol has to put on special clothing to do it. So with, let's say, the beginning of the Musaf offering on Yom Kippur, which is the 7 lambs and the bull. So the Kohen Gadol does that while wearing his regular Kohen Gadol outfit. But to do the special confessions and bring the blood into the Holy of Holies, he has to put on his strictly white garments. So those are done like that. You would have said the bull should go first. His bull with the confessions should go first. Kamash Balan, no, it's a type of sin offering, and it's done with a special service, so it goes in the middle. And then after he's done with the special bull and the special goats, he puts his regular clothing back on to finish the Musaf. He still has some rams to give, and he has to do the afternoon lamb, the Tamid. Right, so it's very interesting how they figured this out. You can imagine what we read in front of us is the result of many years of deliberation about these things, tradition and deliberation and recording. It wasn't so like they had a Rambam; they just open it up and it's there. Like this probably was, these ideas developed over the course of a long period of time, and after a lot of consideration, the Torah doesn't say specifically all these things. Right. The sages had to figure this out. Some things they have from tradition, and some things it was actually probably debated for a long time.
But those things those things that they had to figure out, was it because it was a lawsuit tradition?
No. They have to, the Torah doesn't say, and the Torah got deal to Rovi Adir. There's things that are ambiguous for reasons, that there's Torah studies that they apply these things. That's what a lot of Midrash Halacha is about. How do you know this? Well, the pasuk says this. Wait, doesn't it mean that? No, because that would mean this. Talmud Lomar. Oh, now I have to find a way to do it that fits all the psukim. It's like, remember, the one that most people know that they're introduced to youngest is some brachos, by the way. When are you supposed to start telling over the Passover story?
When?
Yeah, when's the mitzvah of telling over the Passover story start? There's a mitzvah to tell over Passover, right?
So that's right. But it's just every day.
Yachol me Rosh Chodesh, right? Says maybe you should start Rosh Chodesh, right? Start Rosh Chodesh Nisan. You have to start telling your kids about Yitzias Mitzvah. Talmud Lomar by Yom Hahu. No, we got to Levincha by Yom Hahu that day. So this is that day. You should during daytime, not the Seder. Maybe, by the way, midyon like two shots when you're doing the Korban Pesach, because you do a Korban Pesach during the day,
Right.
or the morning of Passover,
which is the 15th.
Yeah. So maybe the 14th, maybe the 15th, but during the day. Should have done during the day. If I'm already offering Korban Pesach, I should tell the kids what's the Korban Pesach about. Talmud Lomar Bavur Zeh. Bavur Zeh. What's the Zeh? You have to be able to point to something. Bavur Zeh Lo Amarti. Ella B'Shah Sheish Matzah Maror B'Nochim L'Fanecha. The Zeh teaches that it has to be the Sha'ah when you actually have matzah and maror in front of you. You don't have matzah and maror,
then you can't talk about
it at Korban Pesach time. It's only when you're reading Korban Pesach. So that's how they came to these ideas. The Torah just said, "Tell your son by Emahu they more about Roseh," and then the sages had to figure it out. Well, it says, "Tell your son." Maybe Rosh Chodesh. No, it said Bayomahu means that very day. Oh, and then it said Bav Roseh, a very specific hour of the day.
Which is either the time of the Korban Pesach or when you're eating.
Yeah, but it says Zeh means when you have the matzah and the maror, not just Korban Pesach.
When you eat the matzah and maror as a sandwich, like
no, it means matzah and maror are on the table. If you just have Korban Pesach, you're in the temple. There's just lambs. There's no you don't bring matzah and maror to the temple to offer the Korban Pesach.
I thought that after the korban is slaughtered and everything, they're going to eat it and roast it in the area that they could bring like their little soft matzah.
No. They roast the Korban Pesach before the Seder, and then they sit down to eat it, and they bring matzah and maror. And Hillel himself would make a sandwich, but the sages don't hold like Hillel. You're supposed to eat them separately.
Okay.
Yeah. So now there you go. People think that, but we do Zecher LeHillel. Yeah. The Rambam points out the Zecher LeHillel is you can put your matzah and maror together, but you can't put Korban Pesach with it. So when you do a Zecher, you're doing exactly what everybody else used to do, not like Hillel. Hillel would do shloshtim. So that's what I talk about in the yeshiva. So that's why we have to go to that's a big surprise. Yushalmi points it out. Rabbi Yochanan points it out. So thank you, Rabbi Steinsaltz. It's one of the things I learned from him. Yeah, it's practical. Okay. Minchas ha'ish kodem minchas ha'isha. Okay. The meal offering of a man takes precedence over that of a woman. Really? Why is that?
Because the man is chayav in all mitzvot.
Is that true? Yeah, I guess. Okay. Men take precedence. Man was created first, and women are, subservient to men. Okay, I haven't seen the exact reason. Minchas chitim kodemes the minchas orim. A meal offering of wheat takes precedence over that of barley. Okay, wheat is considered more important. Also in brachos, by the way. Okay, because I'll say wheat is human food, barley is animal food. So wait a minute, what do we use barley mostly for? You can make barley bread.
Yeah, I mean you can use it, but most of the time the main starch of barley is for animals.
Yeah, okay. But what do we use barley for nowadays? Stews, mushroom barley soup, and cholent. Most Jews have that. That's the two things that they'll eat with it. And the other thing that they'll do is they'll make beer out of it. Okay, because beer is yummy. Minchas kote.
I'm sorry, but you see that the distinction already though between barley to beer. The bracha changes, but not to something elaborate like wheat to bread.
Well, like barley becomes bread. Barley also becomes a motzi lechem.
Yeah, but not when it goes from barley itself to a wheat.
I mean barley to a wheat. When does barley become wheat?
Not barley to wheat. I'm sorry, barley to beer.
Yeah.
Barley to beer.
If you would make use wheat to make beer, it would do the same thing. It would also be shackle. Yeah.
I'm thinking about grapes and wine. Well, I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
The sages didn't really consider they didn't really make beer out of grain. They could have. They had grains. They could have. The vodka came later because it uses distillation. But the sages could have fermented, grain juice and made barley. They're making bread. If you can make bread, you can make beer. But that was not something they did in ancient Israel for some reason. They mostly just used wine and grapes. So it was like the thing you did. Anything else would be inferior. Okay. By the way, this brings up an important point. Sacrifice in the temple. You know that. What are you supposed to bring to God? Staples. Start with wood. People use wood. It's a basic fuel for cooking and heat. So the temple requires wood. Okay? And then you bring to God offerings made out of the basic animals you eat. Okay? Bovines, sheep, goats, pigeons and doves, olive oil, grain, and wine, some salt and some water. That's your basic staples of your food. So you put it, it's respectful to offer that on God's table, so to speak. That's what he asked for. Human sacrifice is something very repugnant. Okay, God doesn't want that. It's not something that people should be doing. That's whenever you have this idea of repugnant sacrifice, you have a corrupt society. Okay, that's part of the things that the Hellenists did. Why would you think to bring a pig to your God? That's such an inferior animal. Pigs are disgusting. I understand you want to eat what's cheap. I was explaining to someone, I don't know, I never was in the non-kosher society in America, but the way I understood it, that proper Americans know that steak is superior. Okay, steak is better than anything you get from a pig, right? Beef is what's for dinner.
I don't know. I never ate pig before.
Really? Okay, good. But you could probably see in the surrounding society. Steak. Steak is considered it's much more expensive. So steak is fancier than pig. Pig is like lowest level, like spam, So it goes like beef, sometimes lamb, it's rare, turkey, chicken, and then pork. That's like the bottom of the scale. So why would you offer this to your gods? The Hellenists would get naked and do their thing. That's obviously not the way that anybody self-respecting person should worship his God. They should have a God that wants people to be dressed formally and purify themselves and perfect their bodies and their minds and offer God clean sacrifice. Okay? So you see the difference between the Torah way and the non-Torah way. Next, minchas chotei kodemes leminchas nedava. The mincha of a sinner, person who's a penitent in this case, takes precedence over a mincha brought by a volunteer. Why?
Meaning what?
A person just volunteer. I'm going to bring a meal offering to God, and it looks like the meal offering of a particular type of sinner, right? The mincha of this sinner, like the mitzorah, the sota, whatever it might be, a regular person could bring a mincha also, but on voluntary. But the sinner becomes, because baal chet. And by the way, sometimes he needs it in order to finish his purification, so he could go back to eating the korbanos. Minchas nedava or minchas sota eza shir tzmeim yaktim. When it comes to the minchas nedava or minchas sota, whichever one takes precedent, because the sota is on a lower level. She's actually done something pretty wrong. They say here, shehi mechitim yesh ba shem avona minchas sota adifa ukivan sheba levarer avon. The minchas nedava is made of grain, so it's superior. But the minchas sota is superior because it could clear her name. Okay, or could we're waiting. It's the only one where we actually know the mincha is going to clarify the situation to us. Right now we're left in a sort of doubt. Has she done it or not? Is she guilty or not? Normally minchas chotei is the people who know what they did, pretty much established. Now it's just there's the expiation ritual. Okay. Menachos kodmos leyayin. Okay. The meal offerings take precedent over those of wine. Sometimes a person can just volunteer some grain, a fried, meal offering, or a bottle of wine. Yain kodem l'shemen, wine before oil, bottle of oil. Sometimes people did offer just oil on the altar. L'shemen kodem la'lavona, and the oil before frankincense. Frankincense was a component of the meal offerings. They did just a little bit, but they would scoop it up. The coin takes this amount, and that's what it gets from the komets. And so you can just bring frankincense to the temple. Have you ever seen frankincense?
I don't think I have.
They have pictures of it in the back of the book. They sell it in the old city at those shops for tourists and stuff.
The one that they burn.
Yeah, it smells good. Okay.
Are we allowed to like those?
You're allowed to burn frankincense all you want. The only thing you're not allowed to do is compound the incense with the recipe they used in the temple. You could change it. You could use components. You're allowed to. What are the common ones that they put in the temple incense? They put cinnamon, frankincense, myrrh, spikenard, the usual ones. All the usual ones.
Yeah.
If you were to mix up a little bit of those things yourself and burn your house, it's totally fine. That's what they used to do. They fumigate clothes that way.
You just can't do the whole combination.
You can't use the recipe. By the way, I'm not worried about it.
When you say use the recipe, meaning the exact measurements and everything.
Yeah.
But if you use all the compounds, but without using the right
different ratios, it's not the same thing.
Okay.
Also, there's controversy about what everything is. No one agrees with it exactly. We know there's cinnamon there, and there's some obvious ones. But some of them, like we discussed this years ago, look at the Rambam there. There's so many different opinions. So no one's going to get it until the Sanhedrin just decides once and for all. So I'm not so worried. Also, there's nothing stopping a Gentile from doing it. If a Gentile did know every single spice exactly and did compound it, so he's not violating any prohibition because he has no such prohibition. And then if you could smell it, you'd be like, wow, it smells pretty good. For Jews, it's forbidden. Next. Yeah, the Livona is he said it's frankincense. Okay. Lavona kumnenes lamelach. If a person just wants to bring salt to the temple, what do you salt for?
The korbanot.
Every korban has to have a little salt on it. Umelach kodem leitzim, and the salt comes before wood. Wood is the most basic thing to start with. You have to burn things. Emathai bizman shebo kulon kechad. By the way, when does this apply? All these precedents. So this is a machlokes over here. This emathai. If you look back, the Rambam is talking about precedent. So I'll read you the note over here. Makbili has a different type of note. Makbili attributes this dispute to other Rishonim. Makbili tell you which Rishonim say this. The Korain will tell you different people try to read different opinions into the Rambam. So, according to the Chafetz Chaim, this line, when does this apply? Bisman shebo kulam kechad. We all show up at the same time at the temple. Goes back to Halacha 9. Okay, starting with Halacha 9, right? And on. Shein machlas kedusha tadirut. Everything before that is talking about different levels of holiness or frequency. Okay, but the Chazon Yechezkel says, "Din zemid aches l'chol korbanot shemadlin latzek bekorban shehuva rishon, ach im lo yitchilu latzek bo korban sheyesh lakrivot kodem lakrivot hasheni." Okay, the Chazon Yechezkel says this ematai is going all the way back, referencing to even earlier halachas.
So what does imatai mean?
Imatai says, when do we apply all these rules? When the korbanos show up with their owners at the same time in the temple, then we apply these rules. The question is, which rules? Obviously, the rule I just mentioned, and the rule before that, going up to halacha tet. But perhaps the Chazon Yechezkel says even previous rules. Chafetz Chaim says this is a limited thing. It's like the distributive property of the brackets. Okay. I just finished the bracketed section. I say, when does this apply? And the question is, where's the open bracket? The beginning of the parentheses.
Okay.
So the Chafetz Chaim has the more limited approach, and the Chazon Yechezkel has the more expansive approach, like more halachas. Now, Makbili says, actually, this opinion of the Chafetz Chaim in the Rambam is actually what the Kesef Mishneh says, and the opinion of the Chazon Yechezkel is the opinion of the Meiri. Okay. Once again, this is something that we have to decide. What does the Rambam mean? It's ambiguous.
Is it not clarified in some other texts?
Maybe you could look it up, but I haven't seen it. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. But this is the one place where the Rambam's talking about the precedence of the sacrifices. So maybe the sources shed light on this, but this is a machlokas. Okay, you know what? I should go try to find the best answer to that question myself. We don't have any questions about this. If say, well, this one takes precedent over that, but if one showed up an hour earlier, that's precedent. And whatever was offered first should be eaten first. Okay, so the Kohanim have two sin offerings. They're going to sit down to eat the sin offerings at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's one that was offered at 11 a.m. and one was offered at 2 p.m. The 11 a.m. takes precedence. When did the Kohanim start eating the sin offering? In the morning, whatever it is.
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't really matter. There's no halacha. If no one brought a sin offering that day, so there's nothing for them to eat. And if a few sinners showed up, still the Kohanim have it. Let's say already 9 o'clock, a sinner showed up with a sin offering, he brought the biggest kind, nice big sheep, female sheep as a sin offering. So, it's 11 o'clock now. What's stopping the Kohanim from eating it? Or even 10 o'clock. Why should they wait? By the way, the Kohanim's, they have relatives who can eat the korbanos with them.
Right.
Even women. The Kohen's daughter. Well, the Kohen's slave also.
Anything that he purchased, no?
Any person he purchased can help eat the korbanos. Okay, so there's sorry, that's not correct. That's truma. Women, okay. The Kohen's daughter is a kohenet. Okay, halachically speaking, if she doesn't marry an Israelite man or bear his child, so there are certain sacrifices that she can eat even. Hayu lefanav shlamim shel emesh. Let's say they have yesterday's feast offering, because a feast offering you have even the next day to eat it. Ushlamim shel yom, and today's feast offering, shel emesh kodmim. By the way, how did they do this? They didn't have a refrigerator. The quantum are in the temple. The shlamim they can eat elsewhere in Jerusalem. Where's yesterday's meat coming from? Where was it?
Don't they normally bury them deep into the ground?
No, the meat.
It's cool.
No, you can't do that. The meat has an expiration date. You could eat it the date's offered that night and the next day. That's it. So, where do they have even yesterday's meat? If I slaughtered a cow at 2 o'clock this afternoon,
Yeah.
will I be able to eat the meat 2 o'clock tomorrow?
No.
But that's what they're discussing here.
No, but it's rotten already.
Maybe it would spoil. The answer is if you salt it.
Yeah, if you salt it and you preserve it.
Or cook it in slow cooking. You cholent it. They'd have it a pot or some sort. The chatas, they have to cook faster, and then they have to clean out the pot because there's absorptions. But you could have the shlamim, they're cooking it, slow cook from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday's takes precedence. Already craves manom. They have an expiration date. It has to be eaten, finished today. Mm-hmm. Today's shlamim could be eaten tomorrow. So finish off yesterday. FIFO. FIFO is Rashi Tevos, first in, first out. Shlomo shalamesh v'chatas u'ashim shel yom. If you have yesterday's feast offering and today's guilt offering or sin offering, so those can only be eaten today. Chatas v'ashim kodmim, so those take precedence, not because they have an earlier expiration date. Mipnei shehein kodshe kodshim k'moshe b'rabah, they're holier. And that's it. That's it for this chapter. I'm sorry, I'm running out of voice. Okay, we'll close with the prayer that we see the reinstitution of the sacrificial ritual and the rebuilding of the temple and the destruction of our enemies. Shabbat shalom, UMusafin. Be good.